I got divorce papers out of the blue, and he wasn't around 2 days after he agreed to date me again. My name is Martha, and I'm 35 years old. Jay is 41 years old, and we've been married for 2 years. To put it simply, my marriage was good. It was easy because we were used to living together. Our lives weren't very interesting. It seemed odd to me that our marriage might get better if we could make our relationship more open and let more people join us in mind and body. Yes, that's where all the trouble started. Never would I have thought that this idea could turn my dull life into a fun ride. Let us start at the beginning so you can understand what I mean and maybe even give me better advice. I didn't find Jay interesting at all the first time I met him. I decided to go on a date with him, even though he was a boring banker, because I was having a bad time with money. I only needed some good money advice to help me spend my money wisely and stay within my budget. He asked her to marry him after they had been dating for 3 months, if that's even a word. We kept getting together a lot. I still didn't know what to do with my money, so I decided to get married and let someone else sort things out. But I didn't know what else to do. I knew it was wrong to marry someone who was having a hard time. It was okay to get married and have sex. Also, everything else was fine. There was no need to worry because Jay took care of the bills, the big things, and the other things a guy should do around the house. That someone I could rely on for money and help made me feel better. I didn't have to do everything by myself. I liked being a great mom. While I wait for my husband to get home from work, I make him food and turn on the TV for dinner, which we then watch together. It was hard for me to find something bad to say. It all got so boring at some point. It wasn't fun to do the same thing every day. The food, cleaning, and setting up were always the same. I had some help from Jay, but I thought I could handle everything on my own. I felt like I wasn't living my life sometimes. I made the decision to change everything. I had a lot of free time after getting everything in the house ready for work. Katie, a mother friend of mine, told me I should join their kids' club. Because I didn't have much going on at home, it didn't bother me. For the first 2 months, it was fun because it was different and stopped me from getting bored at home. After a while, I couldn't stand it because all the wives did was, they'll talk about how bad their men were. They were always competing to be the worst wife. I didn't have anything to add to what they were going to talk about, of course. I didn't have a lot to be upset about, even though my marriage wasn't great. Also, Jay wasn't a bad husband like some women said he was. I began to pull away because it was becoming too dangerous for me. All of that did help me make a good friend. I could also talk to Catherine, who lived next door. We both told each other about things that were going on in our lives. We decided to focus on our health after the kids' club, so we began going to the gym. Catherine began seeing one of our gym teachers. It was still stealing, even though he looked good and was stronger than her husband. Kate told me over and over to try something new. Things since we both knew we could get away with them. I felt like cheating on Jay, but I didn't want to because I loved him and thought I could never do it. No matter how bad my marriage was, I would never cheat on my wife. Kate was cheating on her husband, but I didn't think less of her. Catherine spent more time with her new boyfriend and less time with me as the days went by. I wasn't to blame, and I was glad she was happy. I quickly found myself alone again, and my dull life went back to normal. I stopped going to the gym because it was boring to work out by myself while Catherine yelled at the teacher in the bathroom. It looked like every day was the same for Jay and me. I just wanted things to stop being so dull and start being interesting again. I told a friend about this because I knew she was going through the same things in the past, but she was very happy with her husband now. I believed she could be the best person to ask for help. She told me that being open about her marriage was one thing that helped her and her husband get along. After seeing my face, she told me it worked for her. I might try it. It can't hurt me to try to make my marriage work, right? It was better than telling Jay lies. He knew what was going on in my life, which wouldn't make me look bad. To stop us from living this way, I had to do something strong. If I kept it to myself or didn't tell Jay, I was sure I wouldn't do anything wrong. Because he had always been a great husband, I wanted to be a great wife. I kept thinking that I should make my marriage public. It was like a bad song that wouldn't leave your head. I started reading about the good things about having an open mind. Getting married. A lot of the pieces said that it's okay for a husband and wife to be honest with each other sometimes. As I read more, it seemed like it might work for us. After reading about it and learning some facts, I thought we should give it a try. When my friend first told me about it, I didn't like the idea. It seemed like the only way to get out of our rut was to tell each other what we wanted and look into the idea of an open marriage. Also, the pieces talked about how important it is to believe and talk to each other. This made me think that it might make our relationship better instead of weaker. I'm going to talk to Jay on Sunday or Monday. I made sure he was in the right place and had the right things around him. He'll be more likely to agree after we talk about it. I started by telling him how I was feeling these days, and it wasn't his fault. I want to try something new that will make us love each other again. When we talked, I told him what I was going to do and asked if he was okay with it. He didn't say anything for about 2 minutes. I wasn't sure if he understood what I said, which made my heart beat fast. After what seemed like 20 years, she finally spoke up and asked him if this would make me happy. I'm not sure, I told him. I also told him it would have been easy for me to cheat on him without him knowing, but we would no longer trust each other. It looks like telling him that made him choose my idea. It went really well, which, not what I thought it would be. I thought we would have a long, never-ending fight during which he would yell and scream, and maybe even say I was cheating on him. There was a good ending to the short and quiet talk, though. Things were going well for me, and I thought they would get better over time. When I woke up the next morning, I was very happy. Thinking about all the things that could happen made me feel good. I got a bunch of dating apps to help us find guys and women we could invite to hang out. I wanted it for myself, but I also wanted Jay to have fun. That's why I helped him. He knew he wouldn't have time to look. I told Jay that dating apps are the best way to meet good people who want to date married people that morning over breakfast. He told me to do what I thought was right and didn't seem interested. I didn't understand that. Either he liked the option or he didn't know what to do next. When we talked about it, I was sure he would have said something against it. He might have just wanted me to do something so I wouldn't be idle all the time. He said goodbye with a smile and a kiss as he got ready for work. I talked to many people, but one guy stood out. I told him straight out what was going on when he asked. His only desire was to have sex with me, not whether I was married, separated, or gay. He could come over to my house in 2 days after I sent him an email. When Jay got home that night, I couldn't wait to tell him about it. I told him I had found someone interested in me after telling him what was going on. Seeing me. Jay was pleased to hear that I was content. We had a lot of sex at night after a long time. I don't even remember when I fell asleep. It's been so long. Jay had already left for work when I woke up very late in the morning. I saw a note that Jay had left when I got to the kitchen. It talked about some important papers that were kept in the study. Jay told me to look at them since they were important. I got the papers by going to the study. Everyone and everything seemed like a dream to me. That's not possible. There's no reason for Jay to have divorce papers that have already been signed. I had no idea what I was seeing. I quickly grabbed my phone and ran to our bedroom. When I called Jay, his phone was off, and he wasn't even there, ready to work. I had no idea where he was or how to find him. I've been thinking about Jay's number all day. I had to find a place to vent my anger and rage when I finally gave up. I began writing this post to share how I feel and to learn what went wrong in my marriage that caused this to happen. When you try to get everything, strange things happen. It looks like I had too high of hopes when I thought I could have a loving husband at home who would handle the money and a lover who would love me deeply and treat me like a queen. Thanks for reading this long post. Thanks for reading someone else's story. Please let me know if you know how to get out of this mess so I can fix it. I don't mind if my married life is boring as long as I can keep my marriage together. Please help us and give us thoughts. Last but not least, I want to thank everyone who read my story and sent me advice on what to do next. First, I want to say that I have been going through all the normal steps of being turned down. I was really shocked the first week, and I was sure Jay would be back. He could have been making up his mind about everything I told him during this time. This choice wasn't something he made without much thought. He agreed to let someone else have his wife. I was sure he would think about it and get back to me when he was ready. Over the next few days, I started to lose faith. I thought he might not. Please come back by the end of the week. I called his cell phone, his job, his friends, and the places he liked, but no one knew where he was. I told him over and over to just leave everything behind and go home. I was ready to keep living this boring life, even if my idea made him feel bad. When I woke up, all I wanted to do was drink coffee, lie on the couch, and watch a bunch of Netflix shows at once. I didn't want to do anything, not even shower. Jay hadn't been seen in almost 10 days. I found a letter from Jay in the mailbox when I went outside to get the trash cans. I grabbed it and ran inside to open it right away because I was so happy. It could have been an apology and tickets to a fun place to go. Jay had written a letter by hand and put it inside. It made me cry, and as I read it, the tears got on the paper. After being married for 6 months, Jay told me he had been seeing someone else. He felt bad and couldn't stand me when I tried to tell him I wanted to end our marriage. He decided to get a divorce so that I could live my life as I pleased. It was told to me that he had asked to be moved to a different place to live with his flame. I told him he was going to make sure I had enough money to pay my bills every month. He told me he often thought about ending our marriage by telling me about his romance. It made him feel bad that he broke my heart because I looked so happy. He also told me he couldn't get back together with me because he was going to have his first kid with his lover soon. I told him that I shouldn't feel bad about the split because it wasn't my fault. He would have filed for divorce, even if I hadn't brought up the things about getting married. He asked me to forgive him for living with someone else. The talk went on like that for the rest of it. He sent me a check to help pay my bills along with the letter. Being so mad made me want to tear the check apart, but I knew I needed the money. I hoped it was all a joke as I sat on the floor and read the letter over and over. The letter had a stamp from a different state, so I knew it wasn't a joke. I got really mad and started to scream and cry out loud. After being married for almost 10 years, I still didn't know that Jay was seeing someone else. I feel so stupid now. In only 6 months, how did his love end so quickly? I didn't know if I or he was bad. I didn't have any doubts about him. He was really nice. He did everything I asked of him without complaining. That might have been the hint I missed. All the wives were mad that their husbands spent more time with their girls than with them, even when I was in that stupid kiddie club. I didn't even get a hint that Jay was seeing someone else. They knew their husbands were seeing other women, at least. I believed Jay would be unique among the guys, but I was wrong. I was so stupid to cheat on Jay, but I was a good wife and didn't do anything that would hurt my marriage, even when I had the chance. It was hard for me, but I was a good wife. It never crossed my mind to do something that might harm my marriage. I was still here after everything. I was sitting with a letter from my husband, who told me about the affair he had been having for 2 years and I had no idea about. I wasn't sure if Jay was too good to have an affair, or if I was just stupid enough to think he couldn't. For the next few weeks, I was very busy getting rid of everything in the house. It was no longer my choice to live in that house. For now, I'd stay in a hotel and then make plans. From now on, I knew things would get really tough. What was I going to do? I didn't have a job or a place to live. I think I'll have money problems again after I get married. I wasn't ready to sign the divorce papers yet because I knew it would mean the end of my marriage. What else did I understand? Jay couldn't marry his girlfriend until he ended his marriage to his ex. That was the only good thing about this mess. Because of me, my marriage was about to end. When I knew Jay no longer loved me, I didn't see any reason to keep those papers. I would sometimes have bad thoughts that told me to hurt Jay because of what he did to me. It wasn't like the person I was because my mind was so messed up. I emailed Jay and told him to come see me if he really wanted to end our marriage. He was dying to marry his girlfriend, but I wouldn't sign the papers until we met in person. He thought about it for a while but gave in the end. To get him to. I made sure to book a fancy place that would cost a lot of money. He was on time as always. I hadn't seen him in almost a month, but he looked too cold. He told me he didn't have time to answer and wanted to get right to the point when I asked him how he was. He was honest about what I needed to do to sign the divorce papers. I was shocked at how cold he was to me. I think it was him, not me, who cheated on me. Why did he stand so tall and proud about it? I told him I would sue him for cheating on me if he kept taking care of me this way. He laughed at how weak I was and told me that going to court would only make things worse. I don't have the money or time to look for work. He wouldn't lose a lot of time or money, but I would. He told me to give it some thought and not let how I felt affect my decisions. He was ready to give me the job and the money, but all he wanted was for me to sign the divorce papers. I knew it wasn't a bad deal because I was sure Jay would never come back to me, even if I didn't let him go. What I knew would happen in the end was the same today as it was tomorrow. We would split up. I should have taken the job and the money because they would help me become independent in the long run. After I signed the papers, Jay took them away from me and left before I could say anything. It felt like I was dealing with someone I owed money to but had already paid. I stayed at home and stood in the shower as cold water ran over my whole body. I cried because I didn't want to feel any pain because of how my life turned out. Just 1 month ago, I was a bored housewife eager for some fun and adventure. I cried in the shower today because I wasn't a bored housewife anymore since I got divorced. Life can be very bad. Up until a month ago, I wasn't happy being a home who didn't have anything to do. It was something else I wanted. But I cried today because I wanted to be a boring housewife for the rest of my life. Some people say that getting rid of something makes you happy again. That being said, I think I fully understand what it meant today. Thank you. I want to thank everyone who has helped me along the way in the last month. If you think your life is dull and not very interesting, read this. You should keep it. It looks like. Try to enjoy what you already have instead of being afraid to make changes that will probably make everything worse. Never be too greedy, and remember what I did wrong. Ask yourself why your partner isn't doing anything and check on them often to see if they're bored. Don't be stupid like I was, and pick up things when you see them. I hope you all have great, happy relationships for the rest of your lives. I really want to find my happy ever after soon. Thanks for all the love.